Andrew Blakey, always a Grays man?
So my first memory of Thurrock actually is coming in the front seat of a removal van at the age of, I was age 8, driving down Romford Road, over a little humpback bridge, and driving up Romford Road with all the elm trees along the right hand side. They've all gone now because of Dutch elm. Moved on to the Kennington's estate there, educated there, Aveley County Technical High as it was then, and then moved into Grays when I got married in 1976. The only time I've been out of Thurrock was when I did my teacher's certificate course, which was a year up in Crewe, a place called Old Sager. And worked in Grays, either as a teacher or a lecturer, for the rest of my life. Became involved in the community actually when I retired more than anything. There was something called the Wellbeing Survey that the government did, I think it was about 2009, when Thurrock was at the bottom of the league table. And I remember going along to a ABCD conference, Asset-Based Community Development, and I was really quite annoyed at the result, because the Thurrock I knew, the Grays I knew, was not at the bottom of the league table. And I pitched for something called Thurrock Celebrates, and I think actually Mike, you came along as a result of that, because we ran some workshops on how to do press releases. We ran that for a few years. People were sending in good news, because there's lots and lots of good things happening in Grays, in Thurrock. And when I look at some of the other areas around, this is an amazing place to be. There are so many facilities. I could take AQ just across the river, and place also got chalk quarries, and it looks, compared to Grays, it really does look bad.
But sometimes with someone like Grays, folk are just getting on with stuff, aren't they? There's people in different nooks and cranes. Even I said this morning, whether we're talking here, whether there's people going to a show, there's the Grays athletic fans that I've been interviewing about coming back to Grays. There's a church open across the road, there's stalls. There are people getting on with stuff, isn't there? Aren't there?
Yeah, there's lots of people getting on with stuff. And I suppose I became involved with Riverside Big Local because of the idea of making people aware of all the things that were happening. I can remember hearing that there was going to be a big local in Grays, and thinking, I will talk to the rep. So I phoned up the lady there and said, yeah, I walk around the area because there's loads of good things. I can talk about the area. Brought her down, talked about the area, and talked so passionately about it that I ended up becoming the chair of it. Memo to self, don't talk too passionately about things. But we've seen, if you find the right people, there are amazing things that can happen. Like the Beachcombers, there's a guy called Steve Catchpole, and amazing what's done. Very little we did for him. We bought him some litter pickers and some hoops for collecting rubbish, and he's taken off, he cleans the river up and down, all this stretch on the North Bank, doing an amazing work, because he's a person who's passionate about it.
Is it interesting that when the early press releases regarding the Beachcombers, all the comments would be, it's the council's job. We got a feeling Steve's worn them out, because now we just put the story on and off it goes, and people look at the story. And but that's a great. It's all about. There's an element of individual responsibility, isn't it? How can what can you bring to the party, isn't there?
Yeah. So, for instance, if I then go to the Lightship Cafe, there's a guy there, Jeff Stringfield. He was walking around the park. He was quite saddened by what he saw at the park, because the cafe had closed and there wasn't a lot of facilities, there was no toilets there. and he is just the right man with his background. He's got times there. He's got young children, young grandchildren, I should say, who come to visit, and he just wanted that park to be open. So I would say, out of everybody, he's the person, the key person, finding that key person that has opened up the Lightship Cafe, and that is doing an amazing thing. It's allowed for so many more people to enjoy the park, and we've even been involved in that in bidding for money to make it better. So the little Tots Corner, as it's called, has got new equipment in there because we bid for it and that brought the money in, and he's done an amazing piece of that. Again, a person with passion, a person that wants to see things change. And the opportunities in Grace are so amazing. As I said earlier, if you go to some other big local areas, we haven't got all the parks that we've got in this area. We haven't got all the facilities. People don't always realise there is an awful lot going on. I'd like to see the glass half full rather than half empty.
You're very evangelical, which leads to a couple of questions. One would be, what else would you like to see be involved? And I think my second question, which I'm rushing in, is sort of, does your faith inform you or motivate you to what you do, or is it sort of a byproduct?
Can I answer the first question first?
Yes, please.
So, I can remember going into Thameside School to see the head teacher. And I was sitting in the reception area, and a little boy ran past, crying his heart out. So when I got to see the head teacher, I said, saw that little boy running by, terribly distressed. What's going on there? He's been with us for 2 weeks and we've not found anybody who can speak his language. So one of the things I would like to see is a way of bridging the gaps between the different communities. And there's a project we've got in mind which uses the children's stories. Look, we think Grimm's fairy tales are ours, but they're actually Germany, is it? I'm not quite sure where they came from, Austria, but those stories will have been across the whole of Europe. And we might find that we actually know different stories, but in different languages. And actually getting those languages illustrated in those stories illustrated in some way. And then having the commentary, the story read in different languages so that people can see what they've grown up with is the same, and actually building some bridges across that. So we're trying to set up something called community translators, and we're actually funding people to get a qualification so that they can translate things between other languages. In fact, Steve Catchpole's the first clean-up, we actually got that poster translated into about 5 or 6 different languages so that we could draw people in. So that's another thing I'm passionate about. Going to your second question, I do think my faith motivates me. I do think that I can see the things that are happening around. I can see how there is the potential within everybody to actually change, and that is motivated by my faith. The reason I went into teaching is because I believed that that's what Jesus was speaking to me about. Originally I was training as an electronics engineer. I came to faith at the age of about 20, having never been inside church, and decided that at that time Thurrock was on part-time schooling. The local school was then Culverhouse School. They could only have 4 years in school at a time because they didn't have enough teachers. I thought, I can do that, I can teach. And that's where my career went. Actually being able to give something back to society, give something back to the community, see the place changed. So my faith is really important to me. And that's what motivates much of what I do.
And just to conclude, really, so we mentioned faith. So do you have faith in Grays having a rosy future
I have faith in the people of Grays. I have faith that it is possible to be so much better. One of my advantages is I see some of the other areas which have got local trust funding, and I see where they are, and I know that we are so much better. Being able just to lift your eyes and see that there is a better future, I believe, is so important, because if you do that, you can then see things happen, and to know that it is possible. So, for instance, the Big Local in this area, Riverside community, has spent about £250,000 so far, but we've also brought in £250,000 into this area from outside, which means that the very reason that this was a big local area was because there wasn't money coming in from the outside. It demonstrated it's possible. If you find the right people, you can change the situation. And I think Grays has got an amazing potential. I look forward to seeing it being the place that it can be.